everyone, I'm Rincey and this is Rincey Reads. Today I'm going to be doing a book review on Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. And according to this little sticker right here, this is the novel that inspired The Hours, which is something I did not know until I picked this book up and saw that fact on this cover. I've never seen The Hours, so it really didn't make much of a difference, but now I'm just like, oh, maybe I should watch The Hours. The plot of this book seems very plain when you first describe it. It's basically Clarissa Dalloway is preparing for a party, and it follows her throughout that day preparing for the party that will be happening that night. That's basically all that happens, like plot-wise. There's also a second character that you follow throughout this story. His name is Septimus Warren Smith, and he is a World War I veteran. If you guys don't know, this book is basically a stream of consciousness book, and you just end up following the thoughts of the characters. Virginia Woolf's writing is really beautiful and really poetic. You definitely feel like you're inside of the head of these characters. Because this book takes place in people's thoughts, it also is kind of hard to follow because the storyline sort of flows back and forth the way people's thoughts actually do. Mrs. Dalloway spends a lot of her time sort of reminiscing about her past and about the times when she felt like she was happier before she was married. She spends a lot of times thinking about if she's made mistakes in her life, and so as she's going through these memories, you're kind of going in and out of the past and the present day. And sometimes that's kind of hard to follow, especially if you're not used to it. There's no real chapter breaks. Sometimes you can see a little bit of a paragraph break here and there, you know, like an extra paragraph space in between sections. Personally, reading this book was really hard for me. It's one of those books that I think would be easier to read or better to read in one full go because you can just go through the whole story and not really worry about, is this an appropriate place to put a book down? There were times when I had to stop reading and then I would pick it back up and I would be like, oh wait, what's going on? I'd be like in the middle of someone's thought process. Also, this writing style takes some getting used to, so when you first start off, this is going to be a hard book to read. I suggest rereading quite a bit. I definitely reread the beginnings of this book a lot just because I wasn't completely sure what was going on, or I would read and then I wasn't sure if what I read was actually what I thought I read, if that makes sense. And so I would reread a section and I would often have to reread a lot of the pages in this book, and I don't know if that's just me being rusty on reading classics, but this is definitely not an easy book to read, but that doesn't mean it's not a good book. I think this is just such an interesting book because I feel like it deals with a lot of ideas that people struggle with in general. The idea of struggling with something from your past, whether it be you're unhappy with the way your life is now and you wish you could go back, or you're discontent with something that happened in the past and you wish you could go and fix it or change it somehow. I definitely recommend this book for people, especially if you're someone who likes classics, but if you're not someone who normally reads classics, or if you're someone who normally only reads YA books and doesn't have a lot of experience reading adult books, this is a book I feel like that might turn you off of classics because it is a harder classic to read. So if it's your first foray into it, you might be turned off. Again, I recommend that if you're going to read this, try to read as much of it as you can in one go. I feel like that would lead to a better overall experience. In the end, I gave Mrs. Dalloway 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I feel like a lot of that has to do more with me than it has to do with the book. Like, I can see why people love it so much and I can understand the ideas behind it, but something about this reading experience just wasn't there for me. I couldn't give it higher than 3 stars because of that. If you've read this book, feel free to leave your comments and thoughts. So yeah, that's all I have for now, and thanks for watching.